Hey everybody, welcome to Review with Me, your review guide of shows, movies, and everything in between. Be sure to click the like button, hit that notification bell, and subscribe to the channel. Now, let's get on with this review. All right, you guys, let's go ahead and get into this review and recap of Married at First Sight, Season 18, Episode 7. We are on day 11 of this marriage, and Emem and Ikechi are talking about sleeping on respective sides of the bed. Apparently, Emem, she moves around in her sleep, and she's so used to sleeping in the middle of her bed, like before she was married. And she apparently, according to Ikechi, did not sleep on her side of the bed. She was moving around. The way Ikechi is talking about it, though, is as if he's like, he literally put his hand down at the center of the bed and said, "This is the line. You kept crossing this line." Like, sir, she's your wife. Let her cross the line with you over to the other side of the bed where you are in this tight. This bed looks small anyway. Like, I'll be surprised if she stayed on one side the whole night. Like, you could just tell just from the scene alone, you could just see how much he does not want to be touched by her. And the initial scenes with them in the beginning of this season, now we know for certain that, at least what we could tell, that it's very performative on his end and maybe even on her end too. Like, we want to give the appearance that we're so lovey-dovey and we love being around each other, but when we're together, just you and I have to be certain I'm on my side of the bed. Like, what? Okay, so now then they talk about finally seeing each other's homes. And Ikechi gives Emem a warning about his home, saying that I don't want you to think I'm down bad and I don't live a luxurious lifestyle like you. And he's saying these key words that gives the impression that he is not comfortable with his living space, that he's not proud of his living space, his home, and he's already doing the comparison thing. And I find that to be quite unattractive for a man to do. Like, regardless of where you're living, have pride in your home. And to do that to a woman who is, yeah, sure, she's more accomplished than he is on the sense of maybe she makes more money than him. Not even maybe, I'm sure she does, considering that she's a nurse and she has her own practice, I believe. Like, she really has everything seemingly put together. And to Ikechi, it seems like he's intimidated by that. So for him to start off by saying, "Hey, just letting you know, this house where I got, it ain't like yours. It ain't like yours." Why are we starting off this conversation like that? Like, your home, your house should feel like a home, regardless of where you are living. And I think when you have that approach, then it makes it feel like, okay, you're proud of your space. But when you have the approach of, I don't want you to think I'm down bad, and no, stop comparison. Comparison is the thief of joy. Okay, so now we get to Madison and Allan. They're another couple who one does not find the other as attractive. And it's just like, my God. So Madison, she decides to not stay at their shared apartment for the first night. Instead, she goes out with her girlfriends for happy hour and never returned home. She told Allan that she would return home, but instead, around like 12 o'clock, midnight, she texts her husband talking about, actually, I'm gonna stay out. I'm gonna stay at my home, my own place, and I'm gonna just be with my girlfriends. They really need me right now, so I'm just gonna be with them. So Allan, being the doormat that he is, no offense to you, Allan, but my goodness, what the fudge? You just shared with her that your good friend passed away suddenly, And of course, you're still grieving that. And it's the first night of you guys staying in this apartment. Why aren't you up in arms about her being so dismissive about all of those factors? She comes into their apartment finally the morning after, looking like she had a night to remember. Okay, hair looking disheveled, looking like she didn't brush her teeth, just walking into their apartment like, hey husband, what? Is everybody okay? Allan is telling us, the viewers, oh, I just don't want her to think it's a big deal. It's not a big deal. I mean, yeah, I just, trying to act like he's even keel about it when no, this is a big deal. This is not okay. It's rude and it's disrespectful. So she goes on to explain to him that, what happened. She often, apparently, she does this. She would spend time with her friends more, and it seems like to me she makes them more of a priority, and I wonder if that was a trend with her in previous romantic relationships. All right, so now we get to Carla and Juancho. All right, sorry. Okay, so Carla reveals to him, and maybe to us for the first time, not even maybe, she reveals to him that she actually doesn't have an apartment. She doesn't have a home. She has her stuff in storage because I guess the timing of everything happened so swiftly, and her lease to her previous apartment was already about to wrap up. And in her head, she didn't think it was necessary to renew the lease, considering that she was gonna get married. Like, she may have ADHD. I'm thinking her executive functioning may not be the best. And in her mind, she probably thought, let's go ahead and just not have a place to live because I'm going to put all my eggs here. And it's one thing to have a leap of faith. Look, I find that commendable, but ma'am, what? You don't have my thing is, sure, your place is in store, but how long were you in storage? Was it as swift as she's saying? Or is there anyone else in her life she could at least stay with in the meantime? Like, oh, I'm actually staying with a friend. I didn't want to renew my lease because I feel like that would have been better. But for her to have had no living space to show Juan, I thought that was maybe not the best impression in my opinion. Okay, so we get to David and Michelle. David, who again we know because he tells us every scene he gets. I live in the basement of my parents' home. Like, sir, is that on your birth certificate? Why do you have to always lead with this information? Anyway, Michelle is totally unimpressed. Let me just say this about Michelle. I don't know if anyone else has ever noticed, but I love her outfits. I think she looks fly. I love her clothes. I love her style, her dress. Like, her style is my style. So maybe there's something about her is like, oh, okay. Anyway, just a little compliment there. But other than that, Michelle is definitely getting a lot of slack. Or is it slack or flack? I think it's slack. A lot of slack for not being as open or maybe being downright rude towards David and just not allowing the process to unfold. She's just being very close-minded. She and David are visited by Dr. Pia and Pastor Carl. Now, I really like Dr. Pia. I think Dr. Pia gives it to you straight, and she is not afraid of... She's not intimidated. She's not trying to be gaslit. Trying to be gaslit. But anyway, sometimes with these people, they think that they could play the therapist, that they could play in their faces. Dr. Pia will call you out, and I like that about her, especially from last season. Anyway, they dive into what's the issue? What's going on? And she kind of puts Michelle on blast saying, hey, we did mention that your match may not be someone who already has his own place. He may be in between homes or something like that. And you told us that was okay. Now, they cut back to that scene, And I mean, yes and no. You could tell, not even you could tell, initially, Michelle said, no, I mean, I wouldn't prefer that. I wouldn't want that. Like, she did say no, but I think the excitement of being matched overwhelmed her and allowed her to say, okay, I'll give in to this. And now she got what she got. And I think that is what is pissing her off. Like, damn, I was excited for this experiment, and y'all gave me someone who is not as independent, if not more, than me. And I'm pissed. I'm pissed about it. And I think there's nothing wrong with her being pissed about it. Because later on, we see his home, and we'll get to that. But we see his home, and it's like, yeah, Michelle, I'll be pissed too. I'll be pissed too. Because it's one thing, and look, I came on here before talking about, Michelle's being hard on David. David comes from a family in which they thrive on community. They thrive on being together, togetherness. And Michelle, I think some white families, some white people, they don't have that same family experience. They are hyper independent. They don't lean on each other. They're totally apart from their family. As for people of color and indigenous people, whatever, they have multi-generational families in the house, in the same house together. They could be in the same building together, just on top of each other, a 3-unit home, and each unit is a member of the family. So that's just a thing that a lot of families of color, Black, Hispanic, a lot of them, they stick together and they build on each other. They buy homes together. They're in the same neighborhood. They're in the same block. They're staying each other. Like, that's pretty normal. And I really thought him staying at his parents' home, I forget his age, David's age, but I think it's pretty, I still find it fine. Like, I don't find it to be an issue. Now, would I prefer that? No. I mean, I could say all that, right? And still say, no, I wouldn't. But I wouldn't shoot him down. And I think at the very least, I would try to see other parts in him that the experts saw him fit enough for me. Like, there are other things you could explore. Like, he's not permanently staying there. Like, when y'all move past this shared, I know already that they're not, I could already tell that they're not going to stick together. Definitely not. But if they were, my thing is, I feel like obviously they would have moved forward in getting a place together, Anyway, I just think this could have been something that could be worked out, but she's totally against the idea. Okay, so now we get to Juan. His, I don't know what type of home. I think he just, I just got this place. Okay, let me go ahead and just put something together. He has a dolly for a TV stand, which, sir, what? He has a hammock inside his home that is clearly an outside hammock. Sometimes there are hammocks that you could have inside, but they're meant for inside. This is definitely meant for outdoors. He stays with he has a roommate. I think that's his cousin, which is totally, like, no shade to that. But to share this space with someone and for y'all to make the choice to live like this, absolutely not. Absolutely not. Like, what are we talking about right now? Anyway, they sit down and Carla tells him, or she asks him, if she could bring her things to this home, because, yeah, obviously she has a place to live. And he says, like, a snide remark, like, yeah, because I have a place to live and you obviously don't. I thought that was unnecessary because, nigga, she just said that. We know that. It's like he had to dig at her in a way to show, hey, I'm better than you. Yeah, my place looked like a shithole. Yeah, I have a dolly for a TV stand, but I have a place and you have a storage unit. I feel like that is what his intentions are. I don't like him. I do not like Juan. I think he has sinister all up in his eyes. I feel like he is not emotionally mature and he tries to pick at her in any way that he can, with the whole, oh, I forgot you were even here because I had such a great time with David, and with this comment, and him calling her out as passive aggressive when in all actuality, sure, she could have been more assertive in that moment and say, hey, I didn't like that you said that, but I think he's actually the one who's passive aggressive. I think he actually thrives off of that, and it makes his little dick feel good. And honestly, I'm not with it when a man says, I'm not trying to have sex with you yet. I'm sorry, what? I'm sorry, what? We're married. We're married. So I don't even care to hear that BS from men who try to live for Christ. Like, get out my face. Get out my face. And open his leg. No, but seriously, like, what are we talking about? What do you mean we're not having sex? What are we doing? What are we doing? Anyway, he doesn't really give much of a reason. He just says, well, I mean, he does give a reason, I guess, but his reason is stupid. It's stupid. If we're not having sex, it's stupid. Nigga, are you sick? Is something going on? But I think there's something there because he's a fairly attractive man. He's conventionally attractive and they look good together. I think he finds her attractive, and I don't know. I feel like there's no visible reason why we're not having sex. There's none. And I'm trying to think about it. Is there any couple who's had sex yet on this show in this season? And I'm drawing a blank. Definitely not Michelle and David. Definitely not Emem and Ikechi. Ikechi, who's so adamant about stay on your side of the bed. Stay on your. You see this line? Stay. Like, sir, what? Who else? Allan and Madison, because Madison doesn't even spend the night at the shared apartment. And then Camille and I forgot the other guy who's not black enough for her. No thug. Like, none of these couples are having sex. It's a done deal. Like, what are we doing? And another thing that makes me so uneasy about Carla and Juan is, every time you gotta say Juan, you gotta make that throat scratch. Anyway, another thing that makes me uneasy about them is Carla becomes vulnerable in this moment with Juan saying, the reason why I asked if I could bring my things here is because it's incorrect, is her last partner, he wasn't open or pretty much allowing me to bring my things to his home, and it felt like I was encroaching on his space than rather making a home for both of us. So in that moment, Juan is nodding his head, trying to, show understanding and, oh, I get it. And I just felt like maybe I'm looking at it too sinister, y'all. Maybe it's me. But I feel like in that moment, he's like, another one, another way I could have a one up on you, another way I could dangle this carrot in front of you, another way for me to be emotionally abusive. Oh, this is my home. You didn't have a home before you met me, right? When I met you, you was living in a storage. So, no, we're not putting up this stupid ass salt bowl. No, we're not going to have Picasso here. No. I feel like this was just another way for Juan to have one up on her. And I just hate that. I feel like Carla needs to, I wish she would have been more self-sufficient prior to getting married. And once getting married, okay, now we're bringing our lives together, rather than, oh, you already have your life at least more in order than me. Okay, I'll just bring my salt bowl and we'll figure it out. I feel like that's not okay. So, child, I don't know about them. So we get back to Allan and Madison. Allan is showing Madison his home and how I think he's a good guy. I think he's a good guy. He talks about how he built X, Y, and Z, something in his kitchen, and he opened the space up and he did this, he did that, and he's organized. He seemed like a well put together guy. And I just wish Madison could open her eyes and see this blessing in front of her. I really wish. Instead, she's so stuck on his loud clothing. Oh, I noticed his closet isn't as loud as it was in our honeymoon when he was wearing those. What was it on his swim trunks? Nonetheless, I feel like that is just so silly, But again, people have their quirks and deal breakers, and that's her dumbass deal breaker. But I like his home. I think it's a nice representation of him and how stable he is and just well put together. And I think Madison should look at that and take notes. Absolutely, take notes. So we get back to Emem and Ikechi. Emem is showing Ikechi her home. And he walks in and he's like, damn, that's nice. That's, Quinta Brunson. Remember Quinta Brunson before Abbott Elementary? She had she had funny videos of her, like quick videos. And one of the videos, with her big eyes, she's at the movie theater and she's like, oh, I'll just get a popcorn. And he's like, no, you could get something else. You could get a drink. You could get some, some candy. And she's like, oh, what? Okay. That, like, so impressed that, wow, I could get more. I could get more. So I feel like that is what Ikechi was feeling in this moment when he walked into her home. And granted, her home is nice. At first I didn't see the stairs. I'm like, okay, it's just a regular large window apartment on a high rise. I'm not saying that to sound like a hater. I'm just saying you haven't seen these types of homes before. Like, this is nothing extraordinary. This is nothing unique. But what made me change my mind was seeing that, oh, this is a 2-level. Like, you have stairs in this big ass high rise apartment. I thought that was pretty impressive. I think it's a 2-bedroom. Plenty of space, well designed. She has a karaoke machine. She has this air fryer that it doesn't look like an average air fryer. The way that it was sitting on her countertop, you wouldn't think it was an air fryer. So Ikechi was taken aback that it was. Like, little things like that was like, oh my gosh, look at my po ass. Look at my po ass. I shouldn't even be in here. Oh my God. This is nice. I thought that he was so impressed by just the little things that maybe Emem is not judgmental, which is pretty awesome. But I feel like if she was, I would have been like, nigga, this is an air fryer. Like, it's not that deep. Like, relax. And look, I do like techie things as far as anything that's like, ooh, a fancy camera, ooh, a new phone, ooh, an air fryer that's, ooh, you could motion sense it and it stops air frying. I like things like that, don't get me wrong, but the way that he was reacting to, like, it's like he never been to any other place that had large window. Like, sir, are you living in a freaking dungeon? And the irony is, we get to his place. Let me just cut to it. Let me just get to it, y'all. We get to his place, and it's not bad at all. Okay? I think it's just a 1-bedroom. I think it's adequate space for one person. And it was well put together. He's not a slob. Like, he lived in a park. I think it seemed to be of the same layout as Emem's apartment. Large windows, great sights. So I just didn't see what was the big deal. What was this meager living lifestyle he was talking about? And honestly, my opinion is it's not necessarily the physical as far as how his home looks. I think it's more so about his bank account. I think he's really saying his meager living is based on what he has in his checking account right now. I think right now his checking account is negative $286 specifically. And this is no shot to him. I know how that feels consistently. I'm trying to get better, y'all. I just don't know what's going on. But the point is, I get that. I totally get that. So I'm not saying that has a shot, but I feel like that is what he's referring to without necessarily saying it out loud. And him being a man, a black man at that, I think there is a lot of stigma attached to black men being financially unstable, and I think he carries some shame with that. I'm totally obviously assuming. I don't know these people. I don't know them from Ken to George, okay? But these are my assumptions. And one more thing about them. I really appreciate how Emem's energy remains her energy. Meaning, in times when Ikechi is kind of giving her a hard time about, like, for example, the karaoke machine that she has, which I think is pretty fun. I think it's pretty dope that she has a whole karaoke machine with the mic set up and all of that in her home. And she talks about she frequently will have people over. Like, she would host people, and this is a way to get people to have fun. This is an activity to do. And then Ikechi's monotonous ass voice talking about, you have a karaoke machine with strobe lights. And like, yes, I do. And it's Thursday night. And we're about to sing a song. Like, so what? Have some fun with your poet ass talking about, I want to see the art. We'll get to that. That's later on. But I want to see the art in you. Sir, sing this karaoke song and do a two-step. Have some fun. I feel like he doesn't have fun. And Emem, she is loose with it. Like, she's totally comfortable in her skin. You know, before she met Ikechi, she was talking to the girls, talking about, I'll give you what you want. I'll give you what you need. Like, totally comfortable in her sexuality and sexual expression. And I thought that was pretty amazing to see. So it sucks that she's paired with Ikechi, who does not want her to put her foot over the other side of the bed. Stay over there and I'm going to stay over here. I found that to be so just disappointing, and I feel sorry for Emem, but I really appreciate seeing how her energy remains consistent. She still has a vibrant energy, and she still gets excited, and it's just really a part of her personality, so that's pretty dope. And I hope Ikechi doesn't become successful in tearing her down, and he may not be aware of him doing that, but nonetheless, he's doing that, and I think it comes from a place of lack. It comes from a place of insecurity. So we get back to Michelle and David, and Michelle walks into their shared apartment, and it seems like every time she's walking in or they're filming together, it seems like she's not spending the time there. Either she leaves for a majority of the day and chooses to not return until it's time to film. Apparently, according to what David says on the after party show or the after show, that they don't talk until it's time for them to film together. So, I mean, we already know that obviously the answer was no between them. So that's clear as day. Anyway, so Michelle comes to their shared apartment, and yet another look that she is slaying. I'm loving this tapioca. Is that the name of the color? That tapioca outfit she got on. I would totally rock that outfit. Girl, where are you shopping? Give me a gift card now. So we see in this moment that she is trying to show effort and express some initiative by sharing some ideas on activities that they could indulge in together. And I felt like it was just like, okay, you know what? Here's something that I looked up that I'm interested in for sure. And look, let's just do it together to say that we're doing it together. I didn't really think it came from a place of, hey, I want to know what you're interested in too. And we could research some activities that could meet both of our desires and interests. I felt like she just came in with a list of things for us to do, but it really was a list of things for her to do. And you could tag along, David. You could tag along. Child, I totally forgot about Camille and Thomas. where did they pop up in this episode? Hello? Okay, so Camille and Thomas are together. Let's just say that. Camille feels like she is in an interracial relationship with Thomas because he's not black enough for her. That is beyond disrespectful. And I hope she gets mollywopped with that dumbass comment. Because, again, black people and any group of people is not a monolith. Period. Like, we shouldn't say dumb things like that. So, regardless of him being of the same skin, you can't expect for him to have this like thugger lifestyle. Like, what are we talking about? Not every black person comes from the same background as you or have the same interests or appearance as you. That doesn't make them not black enough. You sound so ignorant and childish for that. I don't want to spend too much time on Camille because she sounds so dumb. And for her to look, she looked just as white as Thomas does. Thomas could say for himself, it feels like I'm in an interracial relationship. Camille, what about you, according to your standards of black enough type of man that you prefer? What about you meets that standard in reverse? What about you makes you appear this black girl who's like, oh, are you trying to look like a hood rat? Like, what type of stereotype of yourself do you want to present to make you feel like you're black enough? You sound so dumb. And just even having this conversation in 2024, like, I cannot. I don't know what else to say about this. They eventually meet with the experts, and she talks about just how he's lacking swag, and she didn't like some of the things that he said. He mentioned how his flossing would be so harsh that blood would just spew out of his mouth. And it's like, nigga, what? Maybe that's why she's saying you're corny. Thomas, don't you ever say that out loud. Like, why are you even talking like that? So you have blood just flicking out of your mouth because of your flaws. Ew. Okay, so yada. We move on from them. I don't give a damn about them. Moving on. Allan and Madison, back to them. So Madison tells the experts that she basically, she wants the same thing. She wants him to be more communicative and, I don't know. She says Madison's, like they're lacking a romantic and physical chemistry with each other. And she keeps saying she doesn't want him to lose himself. She doesn't want him to not be himself. But what do you mean? Like, what are you talking about? She says she appreciates the effort and the actions that he has taken for their marriage, as far as, making breakfast and just being attentive. And she wants him to go to the gym, and he said he's been going to the gym for the past 4 days. And it's like, why are you trying to build a man? Like, what? I want you to work out every day. Okay, he's working out, but you're not even staying at the shared apartment. So what are we talking about? You mad about his swim trunks, but you can't even bear to stay at the apartment for the first night. Okay. Anyway, David is checking out Michelle's apartment. Child, he keeps repeating the word cute and simple. as he's describing her place, and he's saying this in front of her, and immediately her face is like, okay, I mean, I worked really hard to secure the place that I have, and I think it's disrespectful. She's saying that to us in the confession, but she does bring that up in a later moment, which I'll talk about in a bit. But he's looking around. I feel like she's maybe not as comfortable with her. I don't know, maybe because, yes, I don't like the words cute and simple. The way that he was saying it, maybe he was trying to shoot her down too. Like, maybe he was trying to make her feel poor about her place. Like, oh, well, you try to talk to me about, you trying to shit talk me about my place and living at my parents' basement, but your place is not all that is, that you're trying to make it seem. I feel like he was trying to shoot her down when, okay, she may not have a Emem type of apartment, but she has her own apartment. She has her own space. No, your basement that is under your parents' house is not your own space. It's different. And the basement that we saw, let's just get into it, child. Let's get into it. So we get to David's basement. What? We get to David's basement, and I wish we would have walked right on out. I would have turned. I'm sorry, what? When we get to the house, we see a Buddha statue in front of the house. Immediately, I would have been like, no false gods. I'm not walking into this place. No, not doing it. Anyway, we get to the side door because, with this basement, there's a separate entry. But he says an interesting comment. He says, oh, I actually never use a side door, which obviously tells us that he only gets to his basement, quote unquote, apartment through the front door. That is obviously the home of his parents. Well, his home really, as well. And which gives me the impression that he's not living this separate lifestyle that he was trying to say he does to Michelle. Like, no, you live at home with your parents. Yeah, you may go downstairs in the basement to take a nap, but you go upstairs to eat, to chill, to stretch. You don't live in the basement. Anyway, we get to the basement, and it's a dungeon. Like, it feels like something's about to come out of the cracks on the wall, like a spirit, a demon, a Buddhist. I don't know. It just felt so uncomfortable, super old fashioned, and lacked any modernity at all. Everything was just, it felt like a frat pad. It felt like it smelled too. Like there's a stench. You know how you have that basement stench? It was totally not renovated. It wasn't like this renovated. There are basements that are renovated that really do look like, a studio apartment. And I thought, at the very least, prove to Michelle that this is a studio space. Like, this is a renovated apartment and you're staying here, but it's well kept. It looks like a mature man stays here. No. Anyway, so he's like, is this what you thought? This is what you expected? She's like, yeah, this is exactly what I expected. Like, this is not at all what you're trying to make it seem as, which is, oh, I live in this studio apartment separate. Because we also see in the basement, there's this laundry room. And she asked, oh, do your parents use this laundry, use the dryer and washer? He says, yes. Oh, so you guys share the same. Okay, so it's not this separate thing. No, it's not. It's not. He's like, oh, this is not normal to you. This is like people live, like, no, people don't live in separate quarters and share the same laundry when you're trying to make it seem like it's a whole separate unit. It's not. This is one house, one band, one sound, one house. Anyway, it's just, downhill from there. You could tell David was getting annoyed and probably felt embarrassed, as he should. And no, again, I know I came on here before talking about, oh, Michelle's being too hard on him. And no, I changed my mind. I think he is BS. I think he probably never, I know he said he left and lived somewhere else, like he lived in his own apartment, but decided to go back home. I think he went back home for other reasons. I know he said, oh, to stay, to save up money because he would rather, I think he just couldn't afford it. He says he's working 2 jobs. People think, oh, working multiple jobs mean you have money. No, people are working multiple jobs and still are barely making it through, barely staying afloat. If you're working multiple jobs, it's the career that you're in or lack thereof that is giving you insufficient pay. So that's another conversation that needs to be had, because what exactly does he do? I don't remember if he said that. I don't know what Michelle does either. All I remember from any of them, I remember Emem is in nursing. She's a nurse. She has her own practice. And Ikechi is an online poet. Hello? Akechi's an online poet on Instagram. But I remember he said he's an academic counselor, something like that. Okay, cool. But other than that, I don't know what anyone else does for a living. Like, what do y'all do? So anyway, David comes off to me as if he's just like, he has 2 gigs and he gets as much hours as he can. But this idea of, oh, I'm working 2 jobs. Okay, but how much do you have saved? What is, like, show me your account right now. And again, this is not me coming off judgmental, because I get it. And I'm in a career. I'm a teacher. So if you know. And living with the check. Anyway, the point is, I think it's a bigger conversation here, and maybe we'll get to that at a later episode. Let's see, anything else that we need to cover? That's pretty much the main points I wanted to get into. I think Juan is still an emotional manipulator or abuser. That's the proper way to describe it. Carla was not smart about her move in this situation here by not having her own place instead of living out of a storage unit. Ikechi is insecure and is operating from a sense of lack and comparison when it comes to Emem, and he does not want her to sleep anywhere over the line on the bed. Madison is just selfish and could care less about Allan. Michelle wants to leave, but she's in it for the check, okay? Anyway, I'm wrapping it up here. Thank you so much for listening, and I will see y'all next time when we review again. Goodbye.